In today's Ukraine War Frontline News Update, we find the war in Ukraine is expanding far beyond the front lines, as Kyiv escalates a maritime campaign that is reshaping the conflict and dominating the latest Ukraine war news and wider Ukraine-Russia war coverage. From the Caspian to the Mediterranean, Ukrainian strikes are exposing how deeply Russian sanction evasion spans the globe. Here, Ukraine has moved from sanctioning Russia's war economy on paper to enforcing those sanctions across thousands of kilometers and over 4 entire seas by themselves. By conducting air and naval drone strikes against Russian tankers and oil drilling platforms, Ukraine stepped up its efforts across 3 continents to harm Russia's ability to wage war. This strategy was formalized when President Volodymyr Zelenskyy announced that Ukrainian sanctions against nearly 700 vessels linked to Russia's shadow fleet had officially entered into force. These ships represent a major share of Russia's oil and energy exports while also importing sanctioned goods that directly finance the invasion. According to Ukrainian intelligence, the vessels operate under the flags of more than 50 jurisdictions, highlighting how deeply Russia has embedded sanctions evasion into global shipping networks. Ukraine is now synchronizing legal sanctions with physical enforcement, sending a clear message that Russian illicit shipping will no longer be safe simply because it sails far from Ukrainian shores. The campaign began in the Black Sea, where Ukraine demonstrated that the sanctions were not symbolic by striking shadow fleet oil tankers with Sea Baby naval drones near the Turkish coast as they headed empty toward Novorossiysk. This was followed by a high-profile strike on the tanker Dashan, which was tracked and hit multiple times despite sailing at high speed with its transponder switched off. Geolocated drone footage confirmed severe damage to the stern, sharply raising insurance costs, deterring crews, and undermining Russia's ability to quietly move oil through what is now a dangerous maritime corridor. Pressure then extended into the Sea of Azov, where Ukrainian forces struck deep inside Russia's logistical rear at the port of Rostov-on-Don. The sanctioned tanker Valery Gorchakov was hit beside the Novoshakhtinsk oil products transshipment terminal, suffering extensive flooding, onboard fires, and critical engine and steering damage that nearly caused it to sink. The strike demonstrated that even ports far inside Russia are no longer insulated from retaliation. Ukraine then crossed a psychological and operational threshold by expanding the battlefield into the Mediterranean Sea. For the first time in this phase of the conflict, the security service of Ukraine's Alpha unit struck the shadow fleet tanker Quendil in neutral waters more than 2,000 kilometers from Ukrainian territory using aerial drones and drone-dropped munitions. The vessel suffered critical structural damage and can no longer be used for oil transport, while officials emphasized that it was a legitimate military target under the laws and customs of war. The unprecedented range of this operation has fueled speculation that future Ukrainian strikes could extend into the Baltic or North Seas. At the same time, Ukraine opened a 4th maritime front in the Caspian Sea by targeting production itself rather than transport. Long-range drones struck Russia's largest Caspian oil platform, Filanovsky, halting extraction from multiple wells. Follow-up attacks hit the Korchagin and Rakushechnoye platforms, forcing repeated shutdowns. During the same operational cycle, Ukrainian special forces struck the Russian Navy patrol ship Okhotnik, which had been deployed to protect the platforms but failed to defend even itself. These strikes, conducted up to 900 kilometers from Ukrainian territory, have disrupted offshore production and forced Russia to divert air defenses and resources to assets once considered untouchable. As this Ukraine War Frontline News Update today shows, Ukraine is deliberately combining sanctions with force across the Black Sea, Sea of Azov, Mediterranean, and Caspian Seas to target the financial lifeline of Russia's war economy. With each new sea added to the campaign, pressure on Moscow's oil revenues intensifies, underscoring why this moment stands as a defining chapter in ongoing Ukraine war news and Ukraine war update coverage. Thanks for listening to Ukraine, the Dark and Light. Please like, subscribe, and share.